Deepti Galaron is with me on the set to take a look at what the papers have been saying today. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Jeannie.
We're going to start with Brexit and some rather contradictory statements that came out in the British papers today.
That's right, and really demonstrative of how chaotic the situation is now. Let's start with the Daily Telegraph, which on its front page is reporting that Prime Minister Theresa May is planning to make a formal request to Brussels to delay Brexit if she cannot pass her deal by March the 12th. The Daily Telegraph revealing that it's part of a series of options that they're looking at in a bid to avoid resignations by ministers who support taking a no deal off the table. The paper noting that ministers hope to get the deal passed through within a 2-month extension. So they're seeking roughly a 2-month extension if it's granted, because this would allow them to avoid participating in the European Parliament elections at the end of May. The Guardian, meanwhile, is looking at how the EU is planning to delay Brexit, not by 2 months, but by 2 years, pushing it back until 2021. The paper explaining that the EU officials, that EU officials favor a lengthy extension of the negotiating process to give both sides ample time, well, you might say they've already had ample time, to develop plans for their future relationship. So they prefer a longer extension period rather than a shorter one, which would mean they just simply push back the problem.
Now, the editors in The Guardian do seem to favor this lengthy extension period.
Yeah, that's right. They actually make a call for that kind of a lengthy extension. They actually call Theresa May, well, first of all, the vote on March the 12th was itself delayed. So The Guardian is calling that a reckless act of a leader running out of ideas. And interestingly, that vote would actually bring us to 17 days until the actual Brexit, according to the current date, is implemented. So The Guardian explains this is actually a pretty shrewd political move from the part of Theresa May, because she'd be putting a lot of pressure on ministers to accept her deal or risk facing chaos so close to the end date. For The Guardian, it's actually not a bad plan. It's just a plan that's bad for everyone involved. May's comments about the extension came during an EU Arab League summit in Sharm el-Sheikh that began on Sunday. It's also the focus of this cartoonist from The Times. It's British Prime Minister's deal in the desert. You see her literally crawling through the sand there.
Next, Deepti, to Israel, where the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has outraged almost everyone by brokering an alliance with a racist party.
So we're in a pre-election mode in Israel. Elections are planned for April, and the party we're talking about is Otzma Yehudit. It's been described as an anti-Arab, anti-gay party, a descendant of an outlawed party called the Kah Party. Thanks to Netanyahu, he brokered a deal between this party and another one called the Bayit Yehudi. Both are fringe groups, but now looking at, if they win, possibly entering the Israeli parliament after April's elections, or at least having a shot at it. The center-left paper Haaretz is looking at the origins of this party, often attributed to Meir Kahan. He's an extremist rabbi who emigrated from the U.S. to Israel, and to quote the Haaretz writer, brought with him his toxic ideology. This alliance brokered by Netanyahu gives legitimacy to this group and could see it return to power, or at least return to parliament nearly 3 decades after Kahan's death. A writer for the Jerusalem Post, also that's a conservative paper in Israel, calling the party a, quote, reprehensible political party, but reminding us that this is part and parcel of politics. Netanyahu is quite embattled now. He's faced a lot of damaging corruption scandals. He needs all the help he can get, and they do say likely he'll turn on the party if and when it serves his purpose. They're urging us to see this more as a shrewd political maneuver. Meanwhile, a candidate for that party, the Otzma party, has tried to water down its past image, saying the critiques leveled against them are to do with the late Meir Khan and not them, and they say that's no longer relevant to the image of the party.
All right, next now, Deepti, something that'll interest all of the left-handers out there. You've got a story about a scientific study that says that southpaws are actually better at fighting?
That's right. That's right. Joe, and case in point, Joe Calzaghe, who was the greatest Welsh boxer in history, used to say that in his darkest hour, he'd draw on the fact that he was left-handed to steer him to victory. Researchers have actually looked at, analyzed 10,000 boxers and martial arts competitors and found that left-handers do better in general, perhaps because it's rarer and it tends to throw off right-handed competitors. You have Filipino champion Manny Pacquiao, who's left-handed, U.S. gold medalist Oscar De La Hoya, who was also boxing with his southpaw stance. Also, it's not just boxing, though. Look at Rafael Nadal. He's a natural right-hander, but he plays with his left hand, giving him a very valuable advantage. So being left-handed might be a pain in the real world, but at least they can console themselves with the fact that they're better fighters.
All right, let's just wrap up now. You can't leave us without talking a little bit about the Oscars last night, and in particular about the goodie bags this year.
There's always a lot of focus on the quote-unquote swag bag at the Oscars, and this year it's reason enough to hope to get an invite to next year's one, Jeannie. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten my hands on the actual bag. I can tell you, though, there is the standard $20,000 trip of your choice for you and a friend to either the Amazon, Galapagos Islands, Iceland, Costa Rica, or Panama. There's also wellness gifts like a retreat session with a personal trainer, cosmetic gifts, another vacation to Greece. There's a lot of focus on cannabis products this year. So you get a cannabis-infused cosmetic products, cannabis edibles and lotions, a membership to a weed-friendly social club in Hollywood. That's not even the weirdest thing, though. You have some really weird gifts. You have a wearable silent breast pump, a grip-free dog leash, a spy pen. This is cool. A spy pen donated by PETA that encourages people to click on the pen whenever they see animal abuse, and it sends a message to the animal rights group. The weirdest one of all has got to be this one. It's a glow-in-the-dark toilet plunger with the poop emoji emblazoned on it.
Well, I guess that could replace your nightlight in the bathroom, perhaps. Thank you for that. Dipti Laurent with that look at what the papers have been saying today. You can get a closer look, of course, at that on our website. The address is france24.com.